Welcome back to Pokemon Let's Go Eevee for the Nintendo Switch. In this video, we are going to be going from the Nugget Bridge all the way to the SSN and rematching the rival. We fought the rival in the last episode, and one of my biggest complaints was that he was much easier than he was in the original games. Meanwhile, here we actually have a different issue, that being that the Nugget Bridge was actually nerfed. Because we have no way of infinitely retalking to this grunt, we are unable to just grind for nuggets here. Meaning that we can't have an exploit of almost infinite money. Which is not something that I like, but I understand why they did it. It did break the balance. I'm showing off this one because the Nugget Bridge is a plot significant story event for this game. So this is actually a battle that everyone has to go through. And while admittedly you have to go through the other 5 Nugget battles, they're not story significant. And now you get to see just how broken the extra moves are for Eevee when you use them. The fire, water, and electric move that you get effectively cover most typings in this game. And because of that, you are able to go through this entire game using just your Eevee if you really feel like grinding it. If you don't feel like grinding it, then that's different. But more often than not, you will be great to use it. And for the most part, I can say with certainty that Pokemon Company, Game Freak, Nintendo, whoever made the decision behind the scene, was hell-bent on making sure that you, the player, have an easy time as possible. They did not want you to struggle at all, and it shows greatly here. Furthermore, while I will be skipping a lot of the battles, I will not be cutting out most of the traversal. There will be 2 times in this video where it fades in and out really quickly. The first time that happens, I'm going back to the Pokemon Center, and the second time it happens, I'm going to the Pokemart. The reason, I was running out of Pokeballs or I needed to heal my Pokemon, one or the other. And I will point out when that happens for both instances. I love the support trainer, I really do, and I really wish they kept this for future games. The support trainer was such a cool idea. It allows you to play with your friends, you know, in the same place without them needing the system or the game. And that's just so beneficial. Especially to someone like me, who also likes seeing what you can do with these kinds of systems to break games. The fact that you can technically do this as one player makes it even more fun to me. But that's besides the point. Here we are going through the next section, which is the Route 25 Gauntlet of Trainers, the famous Gauntlet of Trainers, except they also nerfed them here. You would think that they would at least keep the teams, but no, the teams are actually different. But the thing is, the teams aren't varied enough for me to consider showing them, so anyone who doesn't know how different the teams are likely won't see it. And I could not believe that I missed that item, but I did. Am I gonna go back for it? No, it's probably not worth it. But it's one of those principle of the matter things. You know, you want to get the items because you can get the items, not because you can. Well, not because you have to. I actually had one of my longer recording sessions for this one. However, because a lot of it is non-plot related trainer battles, I just wasn't showing them. And because of that, this is actually going to be one of the shorter parts of the Let's Play. It's actually a commentary. And here is the fisherman. We fight him. Then we go back to Poke Center, only to return afterwards. You'll see. Hello? Yeah, so that was me going back to the Pokemon Center, but we didn't really make any drastic movements. And now here we have one of the coolest reimaginings of the event. I'm not too thrilled at the fact that they replaced the Clefairy with a Nidorino, but that's a very minor gripe. And most people, I'm willing to bet, would never have noticed this. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet that the majority of people who play this have probably never played Leaf Green, Fire Red, or Red, Blue, Yellow, Green. Because those games are 20 years old now. 20 years or 30 years old almost. It's just not conceivable that most people would have played this by now. But I am glad that they remade this. I'm someone who did go back and replay the original series, like the whole series from beginning to end. I started in Red, Blue, Yellow, Green, and I made it all the way to the Ultra games, and then I just kept up from there. And I gotta say, I mean, there's something about the first 4 generations that I just enjoy so much. And I'm not too sure what it is. I like Gen 5 mechanically, but in terms of aesthetic and music, I think it's not as good as Generation 4 or Generation 1. I know I have a bias for Generation 1 on the highest degree. I really do like Generation 1, but this is probably going to get me into some heat because I know that a lot of people are actually sick of Kanto, despite the fact that, you know, I love Kanto. I love this generation, and you are going to see me, you're going to listen to me actually gush over this game and how much I love this game. I just wish we got rid of we just kept the wild battles as they should be. And honestly, just keep the wild battles. And this game could just be the best game on the Switch if you think about it. But, you know, the fact that we still don't have voice acting really does hinder it as well. I would have loved to hear all these characters fully voiced. Especially because Kanto has some of the least amount of mandatory story encounters. Meaning that you don't need too many voice dialogue. You just need enough to make the game work. And next, you're going to see me go back down so that we can fight the Team Rocket member, the Roquetodan thief, the guy who stole the dig from the family. It's honestly a really cool scene, okay? I do like how they took some of the most memorable moments of the original game. And allowed us to play through them because, like I said, Generation 1 is super duper awesome. There's a reason this series has survived so long, and part of it does have to do with just how good Gen 1 is as a game. It is so focused in what it wants to do. It may be linear, and it may be one of the more empty in terms of landmark regions, but what it has is density. There's a lot to do in this region, despite how small it is by comparison. I know that they really do highlight it because not only is the game easier than the originals, but it's also the walking speed. Your character moves faster in this game than in the original games. And that's a bit difficult to quantify, but believe me, in terms of just raw time to run through the level, I'm pretty sure this game is faster. And here we have the famous scene of the footsteps leading outside of the house. But one thing I wasn't too big on is the fact that they actually managed to set it up so that the rocket leader, the rocket grunt just waits outside. I still never understood this. Why was he just waiting outside? It's like he was asking to be caught. But other than that, it's just a case of, hey, it was the 90s, we're gonna give it a pass. Another thing that this game does is it significantly nerfs the enemies. This is actually a story trainer, so I'm gonna show him off. In the original game, I'm pretty sure he has a Drowsy and a Machop. I might need to check on that again. Could just be just one or the other. But the fact that the Raticate, the really difficult Raticate from Mount Moon, was seemingly moved here, I know why they did it. That Raticate was genuinely unfair. But it was also an instance of challenge in the original games that I liked, considering that the original games weren't too difficult as a whole. Still, when you know what you're doing, you can take out these opponents extremely quickly, just as you see there. It's not even a challenge anymore. But in a way, I guess it's fitting, because Kanto is a solved region. I think everyone who's played Pokemon and has beaten the games, any Pokemon game can beat Kanto really easily. Maybe you'll struggle on the Elite Four, but even then, you know how Gen 1 works. Just exploit the AI and you're gonna win every time. And here I actually try to return the Dig TM, but apparently you still can't do it all these years. I think this TM here is, this story section here is just to teach you that some Pokemon can learn Dig naturally and others can't. In that instance, what you just saw, I went back to the Pokemon Center, not because of anything too dangerous, I just went back. I also believe that I went exploring in Cerulean City for a bit. But, like I said before, I don't think most people are too keen on watching me talk to every single NPC in the game, even though I personally just went out of my way to do it because I like the NPCs in this game. They're basic, but in their simplicity, there's a charm to it. There I went back to the Pokemon Mart just to pick up some items. I got some Great Balls because I was running low. Now we have this conversation with Tracy. Again, I'm not too big on this guy. I'd rather he just be a rude rival, one of the more old school rivals, especially considering this is an old school generation. Also, is it just me or did I think he wanted to kiss the main character there? That looked off. That really did. But somehow, according to him, we just had Revive in our hair. I don't know where that Revive came from, or how it got in our hair, or how the main character did not notice it, but that is his statement. I don't trust that statement. I got an extra, so that's right. Now, I'm actually going to be showing off a cool little bit of editing here. I actually debated showing the underground path, but given it's just a straight line, and everyone has seen that path, I'm going to cut it out. Because nothing relevant happens there, there's no story encounter, there's no trainers in there. There's no reason to show it. So underground most likely will be skipped going forward in this game unless there is something relevant to the game within the underground. Part of why I think these parts might start getting shorter, even though the recording sessions will get longer, is because I'm going to be doing more selective editing. I'm going to be actively editing out parts of the story that don't add anything to the game, and I think that is for the best. Especially considering that, you know, Kanto is a very well-known region. But that's besides the point. You know, I could have sworn someone traded you a Nidorino for a Nidorina, but I guess not. Maybe that was exclusive to Leaf Green Fire Red. But that did confuse me. I actually skip a trainer here. I go back in post-production to fight the trainer, obviously, but... because, you know, I want the levels. But during this run-through, I completely skip a trainer, and it's something that I can't believe I missed. Especially considering just how much I actually do like this game, and I like doing all of the optional content in it. Because it's basic, but it's also fun. Then we have the Gentleman. He's also pretty easy. Don't need to worry about him. And then lastly, we have the Sailor, and then 2 Pokemon trainers at the end of the road. Yeah, I fought the Jigglypuff, not the trainer. That's right. That's probably why I got confused and thought I already fought him, because I spawned right next to him. But maybe that's just me misremembering. There's more items here than in the original. You gotta give credit to where it's due. And in this game, they added a lot more content to it. It's actually more content filled than the original. But the content isn't, you know, the greatest of all time, so it's not truly worth replacing Gen 1 yet. Gen 1 is still, to me, the greatest of all time. Even though it's not my favorite region, or the region that I think is technically the most impressive, it is still a region that I have a lot of good things to say about. Here we're going to go through the houses in Vermilion, and we're going to see some more editing trickery to enter and exit buildings without wasting anyone's time, and I do love that. Look at that. You go out of the building, but boom, you're now in the building for the Farfetch trade. We're not doing the Farfetch trade, mostly because I don't think you can do it. That's just a little reference to the original games, because that's how you used to get a Farfetch, and it was probably the only way to do it until Yellow. Meaning that for about a year, there was no way to actually catch a Farfetch in the wild. Meaning that everyone probably just knew the Pokemon as ducks until it came out. Here we have the chairman. We gotta listen to him talk about his Rapidash and how much he loves his Rapidash. But I actually had a bit of a memory issue here, because I completely forgot that he gave you an Eevee set in this game as opposed to the bicycle voucher. I actually only went in there for a bicycle voucher, but sometimes you just forget. Sometimes you just misremember events in this series. Also, this trainer character has kept that Eevee on her head for such a long time. I'm starting to wonder if her neck is okay, because it looks so painful. I don't know. I've never had a dog or a cat, but I can imagine that a give or take 15 to 20 pound creature just chilling on my head while I walk around an entire region of a country would get extremely tiresome and probably damage my neck permanently. In addition, this game has better clothing customization than Scarlet and Violet, so that's another point for this one. Scarlet and Violet only had 4 outfits, and that is horrific. He also gives us our new outfit, the Sailor outfit, and we're going to be with the Sailor outfit for quite a while, unless we get another outfit out of the blue, which I highly doubt, but you know, we could get it. I hope we get it, but you never know. There's actually a battle against the 7th Trial Captain in the Sun and Moon games here. I don't really like that. I would have rather they kept it strictly to Gen 1 and didn't keep the Alolan forms, but I know some people like the Alolan forms, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. Personally, I'd rather they just make more Pokemon as opposed to give the same Pokemon new forms. I understand that it has to do with how adaptation works, and that being from different locations will change how you are born, but it's also fiction, and I just like the idea of keeping all the Pokemon the same. Part of me thinks this was done to nerf Switch mode. That way, when you see the name, something along the lines of trainers about to send out Samurott while you switch your Pokemon, you have to question if it's the Water Dark or the pure Water type. And if that is the intention behind it, then I can get behind that, but that's not what I think it is. That's just something I suspect it of being. And now we get to the rival fight on the SS Anne. Don't worry, the next episode is pretty much just going to be storming the SS Anne. I just wanted to get this rival battle out of the way so that I could have a story-related battle within this episode, as the other 2 story-related battles were lackluster. But even then, this story-related battle isn't very good either. It's very middle of the road. For some reason, in this game, they just decided to heavily nerf everyone. At least that's how I see it. Even though the game is already easy enough, they still nerfed them further. In the original, he had 4 Pokemon here, but now he only got 3. And the one that he had, which was I believe it was a Kadabra and Eradicate, along with the starter and the Pidgeotto, is a much more fearsome team than this one. And that's just something that I find odd. Why do they still choose to nerf the enemy teams, even when the enemy teams originally weren't that hard to begin with? Maybe that's just me getting older and knowing how these games work more and more, but to this day, it still baffles me to some extent. Especially considering that even if I did show all the trainer battles, all the story battles, it would actually get more boring than you think. Mostly because you're pretty much going to see me go back to Pokemon Centers exclusively for PP restoration and not for any healing factor. Because that's not really needed, okay? You don't need to heal too much in this game. The fact that the wild encounters don't drain your HP, and the fact that the trainers themselves are already weak enough, it's a joke. It really is. Look at that. That's a super effective attack, and it only did 8 damage after 2 hits. That's ridiculous. When it was stated that the game puts the balance in your favor so heavily, it was not an understatement. It was actually a very correct statement. Not an overstatement, not an understatement, a very correct statement. This game wants you to win, whether you like it or not. And, I mean, once again, this is part of why I'm going to be not keeping this as my favorite version of Kanto. I still think the originals on the Game Boy are the best version of Kanto, but so be it. Albeit, Heart Gold and Soul Silver's Kanto is also great, and it also features more challenge than the original Kanto. But my issue is that you have to play an entire game to get there, so it's just not as readily available as the original Kanto that I love to death. Anyways, this Oddish is a complete, pushover. We're just gonna hit him, and then he falls. Look at that. Look at this. Kaboom! And the HP falls so quickly, too. There's no build-up to it. But that's besides the point. We have defeated the rival again, and the rival himself is just not doing himself any favors, trying to tell us that he is a credible threat in this series, and I'm willing to bet that team would have struggled to defeat Kazumi. Now, even though that he has a water type, not water type, a grass type and an electric type, I don't think he could have consistently beaten Misty in that gym. I think he would have struggled significantly. But that's besides the point. Up next, we are going to just restore our Pokemon's PP and call it an episode there. There's a little fun thing here where I was actually trying to pose the characters for a specific shot in the thumbnail. But one of two things will be true. Either Bill himself will show up in the thumbnail, or this pose will be in the thumbnail. And I don't actually know which one's going to be there until I make the thumbnail, so if you have already seen the thumbnail, then so be it, but, you know, if it's just played randomly on autoplay, which one do you think it is? I doubt you'll be able to do that, but, you know, it'll be fun to see if you could. Also, that ascot is just painted on, that she's not wearing an ascot in there. But that's besides the point. I want to thank all of you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please comment this video, like on this video, and share this video, and have a nice day.